Hey, what's up everybody? Thanks for joining in. Today we are going to do a question and answer session with the new Bauer Mach gear. So just wait a few minutes to let a few more people trickle in and we'll start answering some questions. So pretty easy format here. If you have any questions, just fire away in the chat and I'll do my best to keep up with them and answer them for everybody as we start to get rolling with this. So again, if you've got any questions, just start firing away in the chat and we'll answer those as they come through. All right, so one of the followers just asked if we can touch on the sliding compared to the Hyperlights, and as you can tell maybe by looking at the glove, these still have the wrap on them. They will get their first skate tomorrow, and that's more of a review question. So please feel free to come back and check out the channel at a later date, and I will do my best to answer those as we get going along with these. So like I say, please fire away in the chat if you've got any questions about anything new you want to see. So A Golden just asked if the sizing is different than the Hyperlights. Yeah, so the sizing is not different in the sense that Bauer still does the small, medium, and large. And then if you take a look at the back of the pads, like the L will say, 35 plus on it. But it's not exactly a one-to-one size comparison. And the reason for that is that the pads have different boot brakes. And that's actually one of the things that's changed between ultrasonic and Mach is that the Supreme line has more of the traditional boot brake that always, hate to reference different brands, but always, I think, easily people identify with is that CCM Premier versus an E-Flex, where the Premier pads had that upright boot and the E-Flex had that flat boot that sits on your skates. So what I mean by that is we're talking about the boot angle here. And I've actually made a great video you can probably check out on my TikTok channel that shows, which is if we come down through Supreme and then the angle across here. So if we actually look at the Mach pads, how they'd be strapped, this is more of an open angle here. So this pad is actually gonna sit a little bit taller up on your leg versus if we had Hyperlight next to it, Hyperlight is gonna be more of a 90-degree angle where this part is going to sit more flat on your skate. So a Hyperlight pad, in my opinion, because the Mach is gonna sit sort of on this angle, the Mach pad I found to play a little bit taller. Versus the Hyperlight will play a little bit flatter. So Hyperlight's going to give you a more connected feel to your skate. And then in terms of rebounds, Hyperlight might be a little bit more out in front of you versus Mach might be a bit more out and away from you. But it's personally probably more of a preference at this stage of the game than anything. And the trend at retail and at pro is for most goalies do prefer that flat boot. So if you've never tried both and you're wondering what to go with, a general rule of thumb is there's a reason things are stock at retail. There's a reason options are popular, and it's because they kind of fit the middle of the crowd the best. So like I said, I would definitely recommend, checking them both out if you can, but if you can't, the flat boot of the Hyperlight's probably more standard for most people. And one also great thing to note is that, Bauer is a great custom program, so if you like some of the new technology in the ultrasonic, or the Mach, but you want an older feature from the ultrasonic, or you want the boot brake of the Hyperlight, those are all things that you can easily do with Bauer's custom program. And to my point, I see Book a Goalie just commented, and one of the things he mentioned is that he found that Mach played about a full inch taller than Hyperlight. And I'd say I tend to agree with that statement as well. I liked both ultrasonic and Hyperlight pads last year when I was comparing them. But I ended up sort of gravitating toward the ultrasonic because I liked a little bit stiffer pad, and I liked the way it's sized on my leg better. I found Hyperlight was a tad short for me. All right, just scrolling back up through the chat, checking out if there's any other questions on here. So Mike Richard 7, I think, whoever that is. I wonder if that's that goon who used to play for the Kings. Anyway, yeah, we can take a look at what's new with the strapping on these pads. So as you can see, here is the back of the pad. So the standard one will come with removable outer knee flap so that you can do the elastic across the knee. I've demoed enough gear to know I like to wear my pads, so I get rid of that and always do the knee down. And then I ordered the Tune Fit Connect, which is part of the custom program. So that is this professor style strap here. And I'll actually probably take that off for my first skate, and I will show you why here is that Bauer has really updated their Tune Fit strapping system. And we can see it here. So it's got more of a Y sling to go across the calf. And then we have this elastic piece here. So you can see that this is really gonna wrap around the calf. I kind of have an impression that I can play with the elastic down here and the elastic down here and maybe get something. You can also see the professor strap, or the Tune Fit Connect as it's properly called, actually bolts in basically right inside this Tune Fit Connect, Tune Fit Plus strap. So my expectation is that if I wear this Tune Fit Plus strap in a certain way, say up like that, it actually may be a little bit redundant with the Tune Fit Connect. If that doesn't be the case, then I would imagine I'll wear the Tune Fit Plus down lower in my calf and then put the Tune Fit Connect, which again is just a basic professor strap like this. We'll reinstall this back inside the pad. And then some of the other new features on Mach compared to ultrasonic. There's a redesigned massive calf pillow here that's designed to relieve pressure and give you more stability, better balance in the butterfly. You can see how huge this pad is here right inside. This is the piece I'm referring to. And then also, ultrasonic was the pad that debuted the Stabila slide. And then there was Stabila Flex on Hyperlight. So we still have that technology here where we've got that stiff monolithic monolithic knee block. Doesn't really bend too much, but what's new is they've taken that technology and put it inside the calf plate here just to continue to improve the seal, the energy transfer, and just the overall connectedness feeling to the pad. So what's different is I would say the calf plate is more like a Stabila Stabila Flex, so sort of like that Hyperlight design where it gives just a little bit, but I can't push this any further back than this. And if I had a Hyperlight or an ultrasonic, this piece would flex way in, much more so like a traditional calf plate. So you can see we have the ultra rigid Stabila slide right there. And then here we have that updated technology in the calf plate where it gives just a little bit outward too, but that is way more rigid than anything else that is on the market. So hopefully that visual help explain that, because that is definitely, some of the newest technology and definitely one of the top reasons to look at upgrading with it. And so that's all part of sort of the new calf support system, which is that new calf pillow that's in the knee as well. So again, that technology, just to be clear, is the calf support system, which is the bigger pillow, and then sort of that anchored calf plate design. So I'm going to scroll back up. I've been away from the phone screen for a minute and just check out any new questions that may have come through. Do you like the Mach strapping? I found it to be very tight on my leg. Book a goalie, I'll wear these tomorrow. So hopefully when I was kind of explaining it, I have an expectation of it being tight. I wear my pads, relatively snug. I'm hoping that's a good thing. And I'm hoping that with that new Tune Fit Plus strapping, I can just use the elastic in there and anchor my pad and actually cut out the Tune Fit Plus Tune Fit Connect or the Professor strap. So definitely hoping. One of the key pieces that we didn't touch on is the skin of this pad actually is a brand new material, which I actually probably can't pronounce how Bauer's saying it, but it's like SL1D3R, which I'm assuming is probably slider skin technology. And this is designed to increase the slidability of the pad, increase the durability. That's always a question people probably ask about the Bauer pads. I haven't seen any issues personally since 2X, so I'm very comfortable with Bauer durability, starting with ultrasonic and hyperlight and now continuing to Mach, but this skin is supposed to be better. And then what's really interesting as well is I saw some of the marketing, and if you get white, which is the most popular base colorway on pads, is it's not supposed to yellow, which is a complaint with some of the old Core-Tech skin. So very cool as well that Bauer's updated that. So to me, Bauer leads the league in rebound velocity, and I don't know if they're quite the fastest, but I mean, they're definitely in the conversation, especially on nice, clean ice. So definitely curious to try the new skin out and confirm that it's actually at least the same or better when it comes to sliding and rebounds as Bauer's other previous generations with the Core-Tech. So have a question about catch grip in the finger area. Excuse me. I'll get to that in a second. The boot on my pad is standard, which is the traditional 120-degree boot versus the 100 or the 110, whatever they call it on the Hyperlight. But it is a slightly different version of the 120, which I expect to sit a little bit more on the skate than the past generations of it. So I think that's a pretty good rundown. If there aren't any other questions on the pads, I'll just hang out for a second. And if anybody else has another question on the Mach pads, let me know. Somebody's commented on the logo. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted the flying bee. I'll actually talk about the graphic a little bit, maybe once we get through the tech for anybody that wants to stay in. A lot of different inspiration in these graphics, but definitely wanted that flying bee as sort of a tribute to gear from when I was a little bit younger growing up, and also just to represent some different graphics I loved over the years. So sort of the old Heaton gear always had that H in it, and sort of wanted to borrow the Bauer flying bee in that same way. For toe ties, I've never really found the Bauer stock toe ties to be that great, so I definitely plan to put some pro laces on these pads. Matt Z asked if they're doing custom thigh rises at retail yet, and the answer is still no. That's an option I know Bauer wants to bring to retail, but it's very difficult the way they do their molded core pads to do the +1 sizing, and they keep increasing the sales volume with the new releases, and they haven't able to sort of turn that corner where they have some excess capacity on their molding machines for the pads so that they can offer plus sizing. So right now that is limited to the pros, but again, I would expect Bauer will bring that option to retail eventually. All right, so if we don't have any more questions on the leg pads, I'll probably jump over maybe to the blocker and save the glove for last, since that is still wrapped up nicely in the shrink wrap there. But again, I'll just do one quick round, wait a minute or two and see if there are any other questions about the pads before we move on to any other pieces of gear. All right, and again, for anybody just joining in, please fire away with questions. Do I use the Lundy loop? I don't. I just use the, with ultrasonic, I didn't even use a knee strap. I just used the Professor strap, the Tune Fit Connect, the elastic at the calf, and then the Pro laces at the toe tie. All right, so next we are going to jump up to the blocker. So there's one new feature on the blocker to me which stands out the most, which I think is awesome, and hopefully everybody watching the video will agree. And that is the back side of this cuff. If we picture blockers, there's traditionally an extra piece of material there, and for years I've been sort of wondering why that exists, because it's sort of redundant. And so if we look at the Bauer, it's super open, and they have this huge pillow here behind the blocker board, so your hand fits super snug and away from the board. But then now, because I don't have any material here, because normally it come up like there, interfering with my chest, the range of motion on this thing without interference is just dialed in. And I mean, this is to me the best example of like where Bauer goalie is with their goalie gear. 1S, 1X, 2S, 2X. Those gear was really about like getting the Odin technology out, and then Hyperlight and Mach, it was like we have a kick-ass product, and now we can start to work on the fit and finish and the little things and refine it. And like this blocker here on Mach is the perfect example of that. So like I say, the wrist motion on this thing is absolutely sick, and because of this huge pad, like the blocker is so tight and connected to my hand, and yet the range of mobility on it is insane. So definitely excited to try it. And this also has a new core inside and this slider skin. So I've been told the rebounds on this are hotter, which kind of blows my mind, because Bauer blockers have definitely been the hottest blockers I've tried since I've been doing this. So really interested to try a blocker that was probably the best on the market in terms of rebound. Get available with more performance. A really cool feature is the TGN logo ghosted there on the blocker. Hopefully that's coming through in the video. All right, so kind of while we're talking through the blocker, if anybody has any questions, just throw them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. And back at the screen here, I'm going to scroll up for a second, just see if I missed any while I was standing up. Chris Galvalis says the balance looks a lot more balanced than a true. Haven't used true blocker, just only older Lefebvre designs when they're still with CCM. But yeah, I mean, this blocker feels absolutely phenomenal. Can confirm that. All right, doesn't look like, unless I'm missing any here. Again, just hang out for another second. Throw me any questions you have about the blocker. Yeah, Slade asked if the sidewall's stiff. Can definitely try and show that in the video here, but yes, Bauer blockers for my money are probably the stiffest. So obviously, like, I'm in this weird position hovering over a phone, showing you a gear from a like sort of first person point of view perspective, but at the same point, so I don't have, say, all my strength, but like I cannot get this thing to bend. So yeah, this side wall is a tank. All right, doesn't really look like we have any more blocker questions. Somebody just like teed that one up for me. Nope, haven't talked about the glove yet. As you can see, it is still in the shrink wrap. Let's break this bad boy open. All right, so we've just taken the plastic off. And inside we have the Bauer football, as I like to call it, but this little pocket shaping device that Bauer sends with the gloves in transit so that the pockets don't get smashed. And it's also a great thing you can keep inside your glove. And then another really cool thing Bauer has added this year is a piece of composite stick shaft that you can use inside the glove to stretch it. So kudos to Bauer for getting a few of the small things really right here between the football and the stick shaft here. So this is the Mach glove, again with the custom TGN graphic. And so the glove has changed quite a bit. It's got an updated backhand design with it here. And one thing I actually did on my ultrasonic glove, which made a huge difference for me, is cut these little elastic pieces out. So I will definitely do that, but check out the back, got good backhand. And then probably the most interesting thing is if we open this up, there is no wrist strap in this glove. So this is definitely the trend in the industry where I think Bauer, Warrior, and CCM have now all gotten rid of the wrist strap. But if you're interested, there's a little loop here. And so you do have some adjustability here with this ROM, which is the range of motion strap, where you can do it up top, or you can do it back down there. So you have two different options for how you'll strap that on your hand. And one thing I'd like to note too is if you do order custom, kind of like I mentioned with the boot brake topic earlier, you have the option to order this glove with a traditional wrist strap as well. So for anybody that's afraid of too much change, you definitely have that option as well. So just taking my Apple Watch off so that I can show the video and you can actually sort of see. So this is what the range of motion strap looks like in the standard position. So it's up, and the whole purpose of this is very much like the blocker, just to really give you an increased range of motion. So in your stance, you can present the glove big, going to make saves at full range of motion. And then as well, when we go to shoot, nothing should be encumbering your range of motion. And then again, if you don't like the range of motion strap here, you can undo it and then put it down lower at the wrist here. One other interesting thing to note, if you notice the inside of my glove is gray, I went with the catch grip liner, but what stock is a Nash with some grip printed on top of it. So I went with a more traditional material. And then there's a look at the range of motion strap in the sort of alternate positions, I call it, where it's across the hand more. So I did have access to a Mach glove before they released. I didn't get to use it on ice, just to demo around the house. And for my money, I definitely liked it in that sort of standard position. Sorry, I'm just getting it set off there. So this is out of the box closure. You can see that tee's pretty good. No gaps. And again, you saw this thing was wrapped up in the plastic. So definitely going to use the pocket stretcher over time to help open it up. Just setting that up off camera. I'll show that in a second here. Man, so good news is Bauer definitely gives you the right size where once you get this puppy tucked in there, it's gonna stretch your glove out quite a bit. Just was trying to do that one-handed off camera and wasn't so easy. So you can see that'll definitely help open the glove up. So for anybody that's watched the TGN break-in method, I definitely recommend alternating between glove tied and glove stretched out like this after you skate when the internals are hot and sweaty, and that would definitely help break the glove in. Again, just show you some more closure so you can see it's opening even a bit more wide. It was just strapped for so long, but really, very solid out of the box closure. And I also trust with this glove, ultrasonic, once I put a little energy into it, broke in like butter. So I also expect this to close really well. And one custom option I got on this is I get some extra pour on in the palm, which is a stock option in the customizer. And then I go with the single T. I know everybody likes the double T, but I like that sort of classic snap of the single T. But one thing I can say checking out the double T is that thing is massive for anybody that's looking for the double T. All right, so sorry, it's a little awkward to hover over the phone at times and try and talk and hold the glove and everything. So just jumping back to the screen here where I can take a look. So if you have any questions about the glove or anything, that's what we're talking about now. Please fire it away in the chat and I will make sure I get that answered for you. Does the catch grip have the finger grip print? So the standard liner has like, some of the goalie knee pads have that like rubberized coating. It almost feels like a printed hot glue. So the standard liner will have that. And then I just ordered the catch grip, which is a gray Nash that I believe gets a little tackier as it gets wet, and it's a bit more of a classic feel inside the glove. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to point out on the glove is, so Hyperlight is the most popular glove at retail, and I should say Vapor Break, and Supreme Glove is the most popular glove at Pro. And one of the reasons for that, or one of the theories for that, is that the Supreme style glove worked better for a larger hand, and the Vapor style glove worked better for a smaller hand. And generally consumers are not as big as pro goalies, and that's the reason why. And so one of the things that was reworked a little bit in the internals here, and going with the range of motion strap you can see in here, is also trying to make the somebody asked about toe ties. These pads are fresh out of the box, but I will change the toe ties over. Sorry, I lost my train of thought with that one. But with the glove, this is also designed to play a little bit better. So if you like the break of a Supreme glove before, but always felt maybe it felt a bit big or your hand got lost, this is sort of supposed to be the Supreme glove for you. And what the differences are is Supreme should close like this, where you want to close your fingers to your thumbs and use them both in kind of that alligator motion, versus Vapor is more you're closing it like that. You know, you're just bringing your fingers into your palm, and this is more of a traditional hockey goalie glove style. Some people have akin this more to a baseball glove, but I call it fingers to palm closure or fingers to thumb closure. And so it's really what Bauer want to do. Another interesting fact is I've even seen some stores call it a 75-degree break, which would line up with like a CCM 600 or a Vaughn 5500 style glove. And I would agree this is who this glove is going to be for. But for anybody that's tried a lot of gloves on, you know, different gloves just fit different hands, and I could never wear a Vaughn 5500. They just feel awkward on me. Once I took a little effort to get used to ultrasonic last go around, I would definitely say, you know, I got very comfortable with that glove and it became my favorite glove. This break works for me, but where I'm going with this is Bauer actually says that both the Vapor and the Supreme are 60-degree breaks, which would be akin to a 590. But what I was just demoing you earlier with the finger closure is it's the same break angle, but it's designed to be closed differently. So kind of interesting terminology and perspective from Bauer when it comes to the gloves as well. All right, so I think did a pretty good rundown. Never as many questions as I'd love during these live videos. Was hoping for more questions. Hopefully talked through a bunch of the new specs well enough. The last thing is, as you can tell, this is not the stock Mach graphic. And so just wanted to talk everybody through some of the inspirations and some of the design elements with this as well. So, I'm an adult. I play, men's A-League here outside Chicago. The league level isn't really relevant, but, decent adult goalie, played college club, like to point that out. But I'm, older maybe than some of the people following me. So there's a lot of designs that I saw as a kid that is either gear I owned in the past or gear I never owned and I wanted. And so when it came time to designing a custom graphic, hopefully everybody will agree these came out absolutely sick, but I also had like some inspirations and played designer, if you will, a bit with these pads. So one of the things is, I'm also like I love sneakers. I don't know if I'd really call myself a sneakerhead, but I think it's awesome how, Nike, even though they're super hard to get, re-releases some of these classic sneakers that, just seem to never die, that people love, like the Air Jordan 1s, Air Max 95s, things like that. And so I kind of wanted to channel some of the classic sort of golden age of goalie gear, which is probably, the 90s into the early 2000s, we just started getting graphics, and that was really my inspiration here. But also that stuff was very cut and sew. And so you have this unbelievable animal from Bauer, which is the custom digi-printed. And so I wanted to do something that was kind of a throwback, have a little sneaker influence, but then also take full advantage of Bauer's printing designs. And I worked with BG Designs on this. I tagged him in my post, so please go check them out. Billy does awesome work over there. Really quick and responsive. So if you're interested in a graphic and need somebody to help you take your concept and bring it to life, definitely can recommend BG. And so what kind of happened with this is we got to talking, and of all the digiprints that are in the NHL, Laurent Brossoir's is probably one of my favorites, and I like sort of how clean and minimalistic that is. So I started with that, and I was like, I want something kind of like that. And so you can see sort of the blocker and the glove have a little bit of his flavor, and the way that there's sort of the thick line and the thin line over here and down there. But then I started thinking, like, I really want to, and also I think he has those sort of, where I have those gold darts like above the Bauer logo and below it. It sort of has that influence to sort of imply that there could be knee rolls there. But I didn't want to go full on retro where like you have every little knee roll and angle and thing that you don't use anymore. And so I borrowed those designs, but then I really wanted to maximize digiprint, which was kind of the idea of the graphic fading in. And I think it looks fast and kind of shows motion. And I also had a pair of Heat and Helite 4s back in the day that had a custom Kolzig graphic, and the shin was printed, and it actually had that same concept as well. In that case, it kind of went vertical where the boot faded from red to black in my case. The ones he actually wore in the show faded from blue into black. But so I kind of wanted to represent those two things. And then also kind of instead of coming straight up like Brossoir did, mentioned earlier, I kind of put the B's there as sort of a little tip of the cap to some of the early Heaton designs that had that sort of floating H. And so I also got inspired by the Helite 3, which Brodeur won, I think, in his first cup year, where it came up and went angled. So those two pieces were the inspiration there. And if you're not aware, Brian Heaton, who founded Brian's and Heaton, actually got to start designing gear at Cooper, which is now Bauer today. So I thought it was super fitting as well that I had some Heaton sets back in the day. And he was really the leader of technology in his day, which is definitely, I think Bauer's leading with technology these days in gear. So I really felt like it was a fitting tie to have a couple nods to Heaton with his corporate history with Bauer. And another thing is I had a pair of Helite 4 Brodeurs that had the devil tail and the shin with one leg was black and red and the other was red to black. And that was sort of the inspiration for going gold and red there, and then red and gold there being the big and the little. So, you know, those are some of the influences. And then the last piece where I mentioned the printing, and I showed this a little bit earlier, that on the blocker, as well as the side of the pads, had to get the TGN ghosted. So anywhere it's black on the side wall, you can definitely see like little nods to the printing. So again, we kind of have the dots fading in, which you can't do with cut and sew. You can only do that. It's supposed to, from a distance, sort of look like the graphic is fading out. And that's how it's accomplished with the dots. And then the TGN logo, so a few nods to the printing. And then this sort of classic design elements to the 90s, 2000s, a lot of the heat and classic designs. And then added bonus, Bauer actually gave me the appropriate Bauer word mark that matches the Flying B logo from the mid 90s. I was actually thinking I was just gonna get the current Bauer logo. So I was pretty surprised to see that as well. So super cool that the logo is even a throwback on it as well. All right, so hopefully that answered and showed off some of the new technology for everybody in terms of what's new with Mach. Tune back to my YouTube channel later date. We'll definitely do some more content, whether it's a review or a comparison. As you can tell with going live this year, trying to do some different things, hopefully, and engage the followers more. I appreciate everybody that's followed me and helped this account grow as big as it has. So that was the goal of doing the Q&As, trying to hear what people wanted to talk about versus me just getting up here and rambling. One thing I have to say is please, if we do one of these again, fire some questions at me. It's so much more fun when it's a bit more interactive than just asking how long the wait time is. Just call a store for that. That's probably the best way to get that current information. So talked about what's new, gave you a couple of the highlight features, then also broke down my first ever custom Bauer DigiPrint graphics as well. So we'll hang out for another couple seconds and just see if there's any questions from anybody joining in now. Okay, doesn't look like there's any questions then. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Always fun to connect with everybody. And still trying out the live video. As you can tell, it's a little awkward to talk with your head in different positions, trying to hold gear in front of the camera. I am a one-man band. There is no cameraman here with me. So thanks again for tuning in. This is the GoalNet signing out.